Hello. My story starts out with me and my family driving to Universal. Well, driving to California for a trip to Universal. Um, but on the day we would get there, we just had a free day because we weren't gonna do anything until, the day after. So I planned to meet with some people on that day, which was a Sunday. Um, so yeah, we got there. I got dropped off. Um, and well, I walked around and it was Six Flags. So I was walking around for a little bit because it actually wasn't that hot. I guess I'm just used to living in Arizona, so I just assume everything's hot, but it wasn't that hot. Anyways, I walked around and then I found them and we started the day. And the first ride we went on was the can't remember the name, but it was like one of the bigger roller coasters. It had a couple loops on it, and I kind of wish we started off with something a little more chill and mellow, but it was whatever. It was fun. Um, we we kept on doing the rides and waiting in line. The lines were kind of long, um, and then after a little bit, we got hungry, so we left to eat, which I didn't know you could do. You could just leave the park and they stamp your wrist with a little glow in the dark stamp, I guess, and then you can just come back later. So we did that. We ate, drove back, um, and then we went on. Well, first we went into the line to this roller coaster. We spent a good chunk amount of time in there, a good chunk of time in the line, and we played the heads up game where it's on your phone and it's you have to like guess the word or like the character or the name or whatever like that, and the other people like give you hints on what it is. So we were playing that, um, and then when we finally got to the ride, um, it was like one of the it was one of the crazier rides. You're not completely upside down, but you're like your front is facing down, um, and you're like bolted in, and it does like a bunch of loops, and it was fun. It was fun. That was the second to last ride we went on. So by the time we got done with this, it was like nighttime, um, and then we were walking to our final ride, which was it was called the Crazanity, um, and like it's a giant circle with a bunch of seats on the end, um, and it's like connected to this rod that like swings and then gets builds momentum and stuff, and you're like flung so high in the air. It was so fun doing it at night, especially. It was super fun. um, that was probably my favorite ride out of all of them, that or the previous one. um, but yeah, but before we actually went on the ride, we had to wait in line, of course, but we thought the line for it was only going to be like 15 minutes because it's a pretty short ride and there weren't that many people, but it was like an hour or an hour and a half for some reason. So the whole time we just played the heads up game and talked, got to know each other, which was actually pretty nice, considering I didn't know those people or didn't know all of them that well. Um, so yeah, so after we did the ride, they were closed because they Six Flags closes at 10, um, at least in the summertime. Um, and so there were security guards kind of nudging people towards the exit and stuff. And then as we were going to the exit, there were like these carnival like not rides but mini games and stuff. Like the basketball and like disc throwing. So we did some of those. We didn't win or anything, of course. And then we did some claw machines. We didn't win, of course, either, but they were still fun. Um, and then It was a long walk towards the exit. I didn't know Six Flags was actually that big, but it was a pretty long walk. And then what happened? Then we got to the exit. We kind of looked around a little bit because the lights were still on and everything, but they were just pushing people out. So the fountain was all lit up and stuff. It was pretty nice. Um, and then as we walked out, they met my parents, um, which was a little embarrassing, but it's fine. What else? So yeah, that was it. We said our goodbyes and everything. Um, yeah, it was a nice time, and even though it's not something I would usually do, um, I think it's that experience, since it was a really good experience. It's gonna push me to try to do more things like that. Maybe not just meet any stranger, but you know, do more things like that. Put myself more out there, socially speaking. Yeah. Okay, that's all.